Hi gang, Fiona from Mobile Fitness and Pilates here. I am coming on to talk a little bit about foot release work. I've had a number of clients ask me to put on a video on the foot release that I do with what are called the wakers or half spiky balls. So I'm coming on at a little odd angle right now, but I'll be standing up and the only thing you really need to see are my feet. So I have had plantar fasciitis, I have torn my plantaris, I have partial fiber tears in my gastroc, and my Achilles has had major issues. I have broken my big toe. So I've done all sorts of shizzle to my feet. My weakest link for me truly is the foot. I used to wear arches all the way up to probably about 30, 32 years of age. I'm 58 now, and I have been out of wakers out of arches for years since then. And I just chose that it was time to strengthen up the foot instead of wearing a brace on the foot. Let me clarify what I mean by that. There are some times where we take an injury where we're put in a brace because it's a broken bone. That's structural. That needs to be braced up. And then we want to get our movement back as fast as we can. Any joint that's not braced, you want to keep moving. If it's not braced for a specific reason, you want to keep moving. As soon as that brace comes off and physio gives you the thumbs up, you need to get moving on that joint in order to gain your mobility back. So in the foot, it is so important to get your range of motion back in your toes, if you're able to, and through the entire top of the foot, all the way through to the ankle. What ends up happening is when we compensate for a broken toe or issues going on in the foot structurally, plantar fasciitis, any injuries, anything, we tend to either roll out on the foot, roll in on the foot, put less weight on that foot, and structurally that changes everything all the way up through the whole body. It is a ripple effect in how it affects your entire gait, and that affects your back, your hips, your knees, your foot. Once you start down that road, you have this massive compensation happening. And if you're able to, you want to try and fix that. Now, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, bunions, those kind of things, those aren't quite so black and white. Those are a structural change, a bone change, but unless you do some form of surgery for at least the bunion component, you can't change that structure. So you want to keep the movement as best you can within pain threshold. It's not always quite so clear when it comes to all the things that can go wrong with joints. Let's face it, there's a million things that can go wrong. But as much as we can, we want to keep mobilization happening in our joints to keep them healthy. So I have what's called a waker. This is specifically Yamuna. I'll just put it in nice and close. It is Yamuna, Yamuna. I do believe it's out of Vancouver. These run you on Amazon, or if you buy from a massage place, I'd rather buy local from a massage place personally. They're about $80, $90 for two. They're quite expensive, but I have had this one in my shower literally for 15 years. Yes, I clean it. Don't go getting all freaked out. The only thing that's damaged on it is a small chew from a beautiful little puppy. So that's on me. But this baby has worked beautifully in my shower. I prefer the Yamuna for my own footwork. They're very expensive, but they last forever. And honestly, they are just so strong. The other option that I have at the studio that I use, and I do love these ones too for a little more acupressure. So those are hard. Yamuna is hard and it's unforgiving, but the spikes aren't as big. On these ones, which I've gotten from Amazon, half spiky balls, they are balance toys. So if you look up balance toys, half spiky ball on Amazon, you'll find these kind of things. The only thing you have to be careful of is this one's not very spiky and it's quite squishy. So if you had lots going on in the foot, it would be lovely. If you want a little bit more aggression and something a little harder, this one squishes less. It's a bit more aggressive and it's pokier. Then I have this one that is, again, even slightly more different. So each time you see these on Amazon, be very mindful that they are all slightly different and there's no way for you to tell from the pictures. So if you want a link for harder ones and more aggressive, a little nicer, just add your name to the thread here. But I'm going to go through the entire foot series to do a little bit of openers. And I'm actually going to use my Yamuna. I'll switch it up. I'll kind of switch it up. So again, When I broke my big toe on this foot, I started to walk out on an angle because I couldn't come up on my toe. I couldn't curl my toe. I couldn't push my toe. Nothing was happening there. During my plantar fasciitis, same thing. I'd get up in the morning and I'd walk like this because it was so sore and I couldn't walk properly, right? That changes how my knee aligns into my hip and into my pelvis. And those are not good things. Those are not good things. So as long as we can keep things open and mobile, how they're properly supposed to work, we want to do that. As soon as we start messing with the body and its proper force alignment, we start messing with the whole system. And it just really does cause us a lot of grief. So in my shower, I only do about a 2-minute release every single morning. Yes, literally every single morning I will do this, but not the whole sequence. I will just do sort of little pushes and little openers, but I'm going to go through the whole sequence. I wouldn't necessarily do this whole sequence every single day, but a gentle release is perfectly fine. So on the heel of my foot, I'm just going to press into that. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm just going to blab about, some things to realize. If I had very acute issues going on in my foot, I probably would put a towel over top of this. I might even sit down to do it. So if I had plantar fasciitis that was really acute, I may not even be ready to do this. But eventually I do want to start doing it quite faithfully. Once I've pumped maybe about 8 to 10 pumps, I'm just going to sit on that heel. If I'm able to, I'll put some extra weight on that heel and just let that dig right into the heel area. We have 3 arches in our foot. And so we're just trying to stimulate that foot nicely. I'm going straight down the center of my foot to start with. And then I'm going to put my arch on it. When I put my arch on it, the center here, I'm going to let my toes relax. Tendency will be to flare. Let them relax. And then go ahead and step onto that. So I'm going to do maybe, again, 5 to 10 pumps. There's no magic number. As I'm pumping, I'm sort of rocking back and forth. I can see my joints in my toes. My phalanges are coming up into my metatarsals, or my tarsals are coming into my metatarsals. And I'm just rolling it back and forth, just to trying to get some open. All the bones that articulate here, they need to be mobile. When we take trauma to the foot, sometimes those get all locked up, and that's not ideal either, because then we can't move through our entire foot properly. From there, I'm going to hang out on that. Maybe I can hang about 10 seconds. I can kind of rock back and forth. Again, there's no magical number. Just kind of listen to where you're feeling more tension. And you may not be able to put your whole foot on there. You might have to actually have a cloth on it and just barely touch it. Depends on where you are in the recovery of your foot. And then I'm going to start with opening my toes. Toes should have space, right? They shouldn't be closed off. They should be much like the hand, that we can open them up and we can play with them a little bit. They shouldn't be all suckered in and nice and tight. We should be able to articulate and come up to the big toe, second toe, third toe, nice and strong. And then I like to kind of move back and forth between all of those. This assists that. So now I'm going to place my foot on there. I'm going to do those little accelerator pumps. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to do 5. I'm just going to play with that, and then I'm going to stay on there. That may or may not be an option. I'm going to rise up on the ball of my foot when I stay on there. So I have chosen to do my weak foot, where I've got more trauma that has occurred, and where my big toe has taken where I broke my big toe. I dropped a massive beam on top of it, and yeah, caused some pretty good trauma in that toe. So from there, I'm going to go to the outside of my foot. So I'm going to roll my foot up to the inside so I can hit the outside. And I'm just going to press. And here again, I'm just going to do 5 to 10 little pumps. And then if I'm able to, and I have to use the wall and my reformer, which is right beside me, in order to actually stand on it. It's a little awkward. You may not be able to. If you don't have strength in your ankle, you're not going to be able to. You won't be able to hold that. So I'm just holding that again. 5-10 seconds, somewhere in there. And then I'm going to come off that and go on the edge of my foot. So I'm not on the bottom of it. I am right along the side of my foot. I'm not going to weight bear here. I'm just going to do my little pumps, and then I'm going to just lean into pressure. I'm not going to stand up on it. It's an awkward position for the foot. And just breathe through this. Toes are relaxed. You're not firing them and getting them all nice and tight. You're just letting everything release out. And then I come off that, and I'm going to go right to that nasty baby toe. This one can be really difficult on the baby toe, but when you get the big toe going, it's even worse. So we're going to start with that baby toe, and I'm just pumping into it gently, and then I'm going to hold again. So this is just stimulating all of the tissue in the foot, getting some blood flow happening down into the foot, and just kind of giving you an idea where you have some triggers possibly. Then I'm going to come off of that and I'm going to go to the inside of my foot. So I'm going to turn it, press on the inside, and again, just pump a few times. Just getting a nice little opener happening in there. And this is where I end up having more soreness and more tension. I'm just going to stay there. So anyone who has, when it comes to the mechanics of joints, every joint has what it's able to do. It's a hinge joint. It's a ball and socket joint. And depending on what the joint is, it's going to dictate the range of motion or the pattern that joint is allowed to do. And I want to stay true to those patterns. Go ahead and just push on the inside of the foot. A lot of people find this one very uncomfortable. If you do not have anything that has structurally, which means like the bone mechanic has changed, if you don't have anything that structurally has changed in your foot or any joint that has had trauma, you want to get it back working properly and functioning how that joint should function. Go ahead and bring it to the big toe. And I'm just going to pump that, and we're right over on the side. I'm not on the back part. And you're going to see on this side of my foot how it's all getting nice and plump and red. That's what I want. So I'm just going to pump into that. This one's nasty. This is where I've had my big toe injury. And then I'm just going to hold it there. That's ugly. That's quite ugly. So if you, again, structurally have had change in the bone and then it's healed properly, you want to get that range of motion effectively back, not compensating with any other joints. So the faster you get moving, once you have thumbs up, you're okay for movement, the better. You don't want to stay sedentary on a joint that needs to get back into action. So in here, what I'm going to do is leave my 3 big toes on. Now I've got big feet. I'm going to spread those toes out as best I can, and then keeping the ball of foot down, I'm going to lift up. A lot of people will roll out to the side of their ankle to run away from the stretch through the big toe. Plantar fasciitis is going to be super careful on this one and make sure that you don't feel the bottom arch and that fascia line just tug too aggressively. So again, you have to make sure that you're not fired up when you're starting these exercises. They're after you've gone through proper healing and physio has given you thumbs up to work on your foot. This one I do every single morning. Every single morning on this big toe. So this toe has had a massive break. It's got great mobility now. Super hard to get there, but it's there. If I feel cramping in either foot, it's faithfully this one. This is the foot that gets the cramping, and it stems from that big toe. I'm going to push down those toes now and leave my 3 smaller ones up. I'm spreading them out, and that itself might be a massive stretch. I might need to stay there. Maybe I can come up, and now I'm going to lean towards that baby toe and just give a little movement here. I'm just going to come up and down. So this up and down action is basically how we'd press the foot and push away when we were walking. So that concept of just going back and forth, if you've had structure change in the knee or the hip, practicing your gait, heel to toes, press off, toe to heel, push back. I know that seems simple, but it's massively important. Massively important, right? So from there, I'm going to actually put the arch on. This depends on the size of your foot. I'm going to put the, for me, it's the arch. If you had a small foot, it'll be less. Spread out my toes, and I'm going to press away and then roll back to the heel. And I'm going to do what I call walkthroughs. I'm trying not to hold on to anything. A lot of people have to hold on to something to do this because the pressure is just too much through that foot. So I'm just going to press away, stretch those toes, and pull it back 5 or 6 times. Then I'm going to switch it. I'm going to leave the ball of foot on, push into that, press away, push back, get my heel down. And you'll see you might have to kind of get your foot underneath you. If you can eventually actually just get that weight bear pressure happening, do it. Watch you're not sickling the ankle. So what is a sickle of the ankle? When I come up and I roll out on the side of my toe. So if I roll up and I don't come through the big toe, second toe, third toe, the joint right here, if I don't come through those, I don't mean ball of toe, I'm a ballerina. I mean keeping the ball of foot down. And I sickle out on my ankle and I roll. Look what just happened to my knee and my hip. Boop. And if I walk that way because of an injury, just watch the gait. I'm walking out and this one's walking straight. My pelvis is crooked and everything else is structurally going to change. We don't want to do that. So that's the walkthroughs on this foot. And then honestly, just feeling the difference is quite magnificent. We're often really good for stretching out the calf line. So this is a really nice stretch on the calf, is just kind of placing it and holding this position. For me, I don't get any stretch. So what I'm going to use is my wall, and I'm just going to lean into that. Again, not sickling out on the side of the ankle. The toes are on. I'm going to spread them out. I'm just going to lean into that. So that I'm getting a nice little stretch into the calf line. So someone with plantar fasciitis, often it is because of super tight calves. It could be because you've worn a really crappy pair of shoes, flip-flops, and you're squeezing your toes to keep your foot into the shoe. That's a hard no. Wearing shoes, super high heels all day long and you're clenching through your feet and the structure on the bottom gets really sore. When you run or you walk, thump, 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 and you're really flat-footed. There's lots of reasons why trauma comes and plantar fasciitis flares up. But it's something you want to get after immediately if it's flared up in you. And in the acute stages, you want to see a professional physio and find out exactly what your rehab should be, right? From here, I like to stretch the shin. So I go over my big toe and I push the joint forward. Now that's great to say if you don't have bunions and arthritis. Do I need this much range? No. Functionally in life, I don't walk this way in any way, but I do need that little mobility because what is tight in the front of the foot is going to affect the movement in the back, and what is tight in the back of the foot can affect the movement in the front. Antagonist, agonist, balancing of front, back, bones, muscles, the joint, the structure, everything in that way. So we want to balance front and back. So if I'm working really hard on this direction, I probably should be aware of working on this direction. If I had bunions, etc., I would put my foot behind me and just put a little pressure, because what I'm really wanting to do is see that ankle joint. Right now it's in dorsiflexion. I want to pull it forward. But if I can't put a lot of pressure into my toe without sickling out on the ankle, I'm going to miss the stretch through that nice tibialis anterior. So I want to get that nice line. If I can drag it in, and I'll just back up, and get that little extra push, wonderful, do so, and then play back and forth. If you can't get that, don't stress it. So now this foot feels much more alive than the other foot. I feel it can strike nicer. So Yamuna calls these wakers, and honestly, brilliant name, because my foot just now feels fully awake. So I could do that entire sequence now going along this foot in the same way. Again, I have these bad boys in my shower, and game changer for me. So that's the sequence. Do it on both feet. Now, I'm taking this and I'm playing with my hand. The hand has the same stuff going on. So I have dislocated my middle finger and broke the, I bent it backwards, literally. And then I broke the metacarpal, the third metacarpal. And that caused, again, for me to have horrible movement patterns through my hand. Luckily, it was my left. Still not ideal. So they braced me up this way initially, and my physiotherapists all had a freak because they're all like, why is your whole hand in there? And then they let my thumb go out and they're like, still, it's the middle finger. You just need these two to brace and stabilize so that you can at least keep range of motions in joints that don't need to be stabilized. So anything that doesn't need to be stabilized, that has been broken, shouldn't be stabilized, and you should be working all around that joint once you're given the thumbs up. And the minute you're given the thumbs up to do therapy movements, do them, and then forever do them, because you've got a joint now that has had some trauma, so there's scar tissue from the recovery. We just want to make sure that we keep our mobilization happening. So this little baby can be, or one of these ones, doesn't really matter, done the same way, stretching out your fingers, moving it through here. This feels amazing. I'm just running it through. These little babies can be used cranial sacral. I can put it up here into the neckline and lie down. I can go on TMJ very gently and work through the jawline, all the way down the back into the sacrum, into QL. Brilliant release work. This would be pretty aggressive for the neckline. That's where I actually really prefer these ones. I put it right in my piriformis. So I'm here, put my butt on it, cross into a 4 stretch. I'm just going to turn at an angle here. That's a better angle. And I'm just going to play a little bit in my booty. Actually, I find it more nice to have that leg drop down. And I'm just going to rock back and forth. I'm going to go a little deeper and just kind of move around on it. So it's like a roller, but it has some spiky action to it. I would be safe if it's not aggressive. This would be too aggressive. To put it straight down the center of the spine, as long as it's got squish, right? Because you don't want to push really hard into the spinous process and transverse processes of those vertebrae. But these are fabulous. Again, squishier, a little more aggressive, super aggressive, but less spiky. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, give it a go. Wake up those feet, wake up those hands. Get that body moving. Love you guys.